Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to Sky Golpe. Thank you for being here.
Hello, hi Serena. It's nice to be here.
Great. So, thank you so much for taking the time for this interview. So, we want to know more about you and your art. So, let's dive into the work of Sky Golp. So, when I see your work, I feel I can describe Sky Golpe as the Crypto Modigliani. By meaning that, I think that what we cannot see, we can just imagine. But what do you see when you create?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for the um, association. Is definitely too much, even though I surely love Modigliani work and I find it incredible and incredibly inspiring. Okay, what I see, actually, I don't see. I don't see. I mean, I try to feel because when I paint, I think I live the most irrational part of my life, or at least this is how I try to approach this stage. So it's really about trying to get in a sort of a meditation and to empty myself in order to be filled again after that I made my painting. So is this kind of primordial state that I try to achieve.
And the bold use of color that you apply on the canvas, is that a need or a choice?
You see, okay, this is a good question. I mean, I divide. My work is generally divided in two separate steps. So one step, which I consider the dull one, the boring one, but still super useful, is to basically create all the things that are necessarily dictated by technical aspects or prep aspects. So maybe doing some backgrounds of the paintings could be, for example, trying to start to explore the palettes that might work for a certain painting, and also finalizing this stage with the silhouette. So what I like to do is to prepare basically this sort of white canvas 2.0, which is not white because there is already my structure in there. But then when I get to the actual session, so I can just fully focus on this flow, and it gets very physical as well. So I can, maybe spill paint, use my hands, use so. In this stage, I go and complete the colors of the painting, really dictated simple by my emotions. So what I try to do is to put all the colors available in front of me and just picking with the momentum rather than so I rarely plan the color palette.
Hmm. Brilliant. It's such a powerful way of creating art, I suppose. And if the colors
And really
are
tiring too.
yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it might take a lot of energy from you. Uh, what I'm curious to know is, are the colors dictated by the subject in your work? So those profiles that you create, those they somehow tell you or suggest you what colors to apply on the canvas, or are these addressed by the urgency that you feel about depicting those subjects?
Yes, it's for sure the urgency and is a combination between the concept that stand behind the work because I love to isolate a few concepts in my mind that I start to think about it and explore and dig into. Uh, so it's a mix between the concept that actually stand behind the painting that I'm making and the way that I feel in front of the canvas. So it can be that maybe using some red can lead me to want to pick something immediately that I didn't definitely think about it before. So I think, yeah, in a way it is this sense of urgency and sudden, sudden click to go and feel an emotion that I want to fulfill in that specific time. And color are great for this, because color are really in a way a poetic alphabet, an invisible alphabet of the way we see reality, and also the way we feel about reality. So you see, for example, in this time of my work, I am really focused on, I mean, the kind of studying and exploration that I'm doing. It makes me feel really anxious in a way, because I am really trying also to work within myself, and try to understand certain feelings or emotions about my idea of identity or the way that I behave. And I think it's really, really difficult to be in touch with your interiority. So this at the moment is really leading me to this kind of anxious, but not only anxious, because most of the time anxious and deep goes can go well together, so it's good to dig, and then when you get to the bottom, then maybe there might be also a change, a big change in my work, a big change in my mindset. So I really try to live, my work as a performance, first of all for myself, and hopefully, in a final stage for other people too, when they will face, the end product.
I love that you describe your work as a performance. And talking about connecting with your emotion, I feel that when somebody looks at your work, it feels that you invite your audience, to confront their shell, right? So if we think about these being a ghost in the shell, um, who inhabits the soul?
Okay, who inhabit the soul? Okay, you see. So first of all, the concept of soul, in my opinion, I mean, I don't particularly like the word soul, even though it's not necessarily related to religion, because if you see the history of soul, it goes back to Aristotle and Socrates already were talking about soul in a way. But what I'm saying is that is not the way that I like to see at this part that is within each one of us. I prefer to see as rational part and irrational part. So the rational part is totally connected with what is outside ourselves, whereas the irrational part is deep down within ourselves, and we don't have so much control to it. You know. If I should answer your question, is still within each one of us. But I prefer to speak in terms of rational, irrational, conscious, unconscious, and how we can, in a way, get this friction, this barrier less thick, and if you can do that, that in my opinion, several interesting aspects uh, manifest. Uh, and so this is more how I like to see about this matter.
Lovely, thank you. I really appreciate your description of it. It's very profound. By looking at your work, it feels like Dorian Gray could be inhabiting the canvases that you create. Since you're now having digital works of art on an immutable chain, who inhabits the digital works?
Hmm, nice question. If maybe the metaphor of Dorian Gray, I totally understand what you're trying to say, but I think that in a way the metaphor could be definitely applied into digital realm as well. Nothing changed in my opinion. Even if you think about eternity and uncorrupt uncorruptibility of digital, in a way that also is a kind of a lie, because for sure it might last forever, but everything more or less come to an end in a way, no? So maybe it will fluctuate more in this illusion uh, of rebirth in a way. But overall, I think we can apply the same metaphor to both dimensions, physical and digital.
I know you've been working on a couple of works that you created as a physical canvas, and those were also exhibited during CADAF Online 2020, and also are currently exhibited during the Digital Bodies exhibitions on the MoCDA website. Um, I know the names of the works mean a lot to you. Can you tell us a bit about the concepts behind those names? And first of all,
Sure.
what are the names of the works?
Sure. So the names are two. The first one is titled Atichiphobia, which is basically the fear of failure, and the second one is called Subtraction. And yeah, I think these two works are really explicative of my workflow, because they both began with an internal performance in a way. Because these two are a good example of two works that I achieved starting from the concept first. So I was very, very, very fascinated by this atichiphobia concept, which is again the fear of failure, which is something that in a way in this society we are all we all have to face somehow, because expectations are high, ambition is a very is a very highlighted value, you know, and it that indeed affects myself as well. So I really want to take some time to just think, like maybe I took 2 days, and I wanted to try to achieve this mental state of why am I feeling anxious of of the of what is going to happen. How can my expectations not be dependent on the result, but also not only the positive, also the negative, which is how do you feel when you're actually worried about what is going to happen. And so it was a very focused mental exercise, and I filled myself for 2 days without going in the studio, just basically doing this kind of meditation about this topic. Just only the only interval was to read about this topic. So when I went into the studio and finally let go all these feelings, experience that I explored during these days, it was incredible, strong, impactful, and it came in very quick, very quick. So as I told you, I had the silhouette and my basic work set up, and it was like a river that went into the canvas. So basically, I was probably very anxious, about also this matter. And when I stopped the painting, I was feeling like wow. I was feeling light. And when I was watching the canvas, actually this was a bit like Dorian Gray, Dorian Gray feeling, but maybe opposite. No, actually no, the actual one, because I projected all my negativity about this in a way into the canvas, and it was great. And from the moment that I saw that canvas, I was completely in a way, I couldn't stop looking at it, because it made me feel relief, that now it was there, and the same thing on the concept of subtraction, which is inspired by. I'm very fascinated by Japanese philosophy, so is this idea of less is more, and also the way they cook, for example. Now, for example, I'm Italian, so we are all like adding on, and the more you add, the more tasty it is, the more great it is. Whereas the Japanese philosophy is almost the opposite, which is about removing something to actually make it stronger. And so I again, I made a kind of performance for 2-3 days. Generally, this is the time that I intensely prepare for an artwork that starts from a concept, and so try to live with this kind of philosophy in my mind, even in small things, like food, like clothing, like I just try really to. And so when I projected this into the canvas after a few days, it was amazing that something kind of pure, but at the same time disturbing, came out. And I think is a great example of what a state of subtraction could be, because for maybe the purest part of ourselves can be in a way something to look up to, but in this society and in this everyday life, in a way, we cannot afford it. We cannot afford it at all. You need to be too strong to actually be able to embrace a philosophy like this. And so again, is the performance, the performance part of it. I think in the last stage it delivers an intense feeling to the paintings, and I'm very happy and satisfied, about them.
I like what you said, and I can totally relate with that sense of adding and detracting, removing
Yeah,
from the
removing.
image, and having
Not
that
easy,
sense
not
of
not easy, not
not
easy.
easy, but I totally like the idea that less is more. And in fact, many, many times, this is probably a good way also of living your life, uh, getting less to add more eventually
Yes,
to fulfill
it's a
your
great
life.
exercise. It's a great exercise, if you maybe. I am trying. Sometimes I try to also, just to maybe to understand and embrace a philosophy, just use some reality cases and see how it goes. Then again, we are not, I mean, at least I am not as strong to maybe do it every time, but also because I am a passenger of this concept in a way, because I need to explore them and I want to portray them, but then I'm ready to explore also something else. But hopefully, at the end of my quest, many things will also remain inside of me.
Of course,
This
yeah.
is why I enjoy so much what I am doing, because is about constantly learning, evolving, and so starting from the concept that I don't know much, basically, and there is so much to find out, to discover, and to explore, and to revisit also.
If one truly understands only what one can create, this is a concept that in philosophy is well known, that you can only fully understand what you create. How do we enter the world of Sky Golp? Can we do
You
it?
cannot, you cannot, you definitely cannot. It is impossible to enter. Sorry. It's do not disturb.
What is the option you leave us then? How can we get in contact with you? Maybe by
No, you can.
accessing your work.
Yes, exactly. I think I also love the fact to, now because we are having an interview, so it's a good time to explain certain concepts that otherwise, they wouldn't be unsaid in a way, and people will never know. But I love the reaction that people generally get from my paintings, because what they generally told me, the most common feedback is, I felt like something moving, but I cannot really explain what it is, you know. And this I like, because it means that my work is really doing what does to me. It also do it for other people, because then it something is in within you, and then maybe in the following days it might also lead to some sort of introspection, and it is really based on basically the relationship that we uh, develop during time with our interiority. And it cannot be too figurative. It's already, like using the silhouette is already a lot for me, but it cannot be figurative. It must be abstract somehow, because the things that are within ourselves are too complicated to relate with our symbols, with our normal symbols, common symbols that dictate experience. The reading of experience. So values that are just simply, we all agree that certain things must mean something, but the core concept of it is definitely not easy to actually, I'd say impossible to portray on a real and definite state. It cannot be, and it shouldn't be. It should be evocative. It should leave some room for you to dig into it.
Mhm. Well, I feel that in a way there is a path that you show us in the way we could enter your work. So I thank you so much
Maybe.
for. I want to hope so. I thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to get closer to your studio, to your work, and thank you so much for taking the time and share your story with us. It's been a pleasure. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Serena. Sorry, just the light went. Okay. No, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure, and thanks for the chat. It was great.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And you shall see the work of Skygolpe soon released on SuperRare. Stay tuned. Speak soon. Bye now.
Ciao.
Ciao.